The Atlanta Story is a podcast highlighting Atlanta's most interesting creators, entrepreneurs, and builders. I'm JC Lucas with Atlanta Ventures and co-producer alongside Jon Birdsong. In today's episode, Jon sits down with Kyle and Brent Pease of the Kyle Pease Foundation. Born and raised in Atlanta, Kyle Pease never let being diagnosed with cerebral palsy get in the way of living a normal life. Baseball, wrestling, and swimming were some of the many activities Kyle and his two brothers all grew up doing. As his older brother Brent started competing in triathlons, Kyle asked him, "Can people in a wheelchair do triathlons?" The answer was a resounding yes. Since then, Kyle and Brent have run triathlons, marathons, and more. The climax was crossing the finish line in Kona, the Super Bowl of Triathlons. In today's episode, Kyle and Brent share insights into perseverance, training, growing awareness around athletes with disabilities, and more. We hope you enjoy the show and subscribe to The Atlanta Story.
Kyle and Brent Pease, welcome to the Atlanta Story podcast. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So let's jump right in. 14 hours and 29 minutes. Let's talk about the day in Hawaii at Kona, which was the Super Bowl of Triathlons. Just walk us through the emotions of that day and the process to overcome the Super Bowl of Triathlons.
I mean, it was something that neither of us had ever experienced at that level of intensity. And because it's the Super Bowl and people say that, but when you're there, that's exactly what it feels like. There's 2,500 of the fittest people in the world, all in Kona, Hawaii. And
where they have to qualify to get into it.
You got to qualify. It's just very intense. Everybody's pressure's up. People want to win, whether they're the age grouper that qualified in Lake Placid to the 100 professional athletes that are there. And they're all capable of doing some pretty incredible stuff. And so it was just so intense. And I remember that morning of not even being able to talk to Kyle. You know, there was just this silence between us, but there was also this intensity and you could feel the energy just starting to build. And what's tough about those Ironmans is that the energy builds and then it wanes and it drops and you're in these low moments and you have to kind of build yourself back up. And so
does that happen after hour 1, hour 3?
I've had races where I've jumped in the water and been ready to quit. I mean, the race hasn't even started. That was not the case in Hawaii. The story that Kyle and I have shared several times that I think kind of illustrates what that day turned into for us is that we were trying to get the boat into the water. There's all this chaos. You have to go down these steps to get to the water. They put these temporary steps in. And as we're carrying Kyle in, a wave crashes over him. And so the day hasn't even started and he's soaked in ocean water. And we had prepared for that. We had a plan, but then it's jarring. And so we quickly get Kyle in the boat. We push it out. I take him out to where the start area is and it's quiet again. And you can see the throngs of people that are on this seawall that are like, you're waiting for somebody to fall in. They're so tightly packed. And I just looked up at Kyle and I actually started crying a little bit. Kyle says it was salt water, but I just said, Kyle, I want you to know that, being your brother is it's one of the greatest joys of my life. And I promise that no matter what happens today, that I'll give you every ounce of energy that I have. And all that I ask is you do the same. And Kyle has this intensity in racing. And he had on these big Oakleys, so I couldn't see, but I could feel his eyes burning through those glasses. And he looked back and he said, "You got it." And that was it. Like, we took off. And so we went up and down all day, but we kept trying to ride up to those emotional highs. And that's what Kyle...
Is there a rhythm? Because I read that there's certain things that you do to make it even more facilitate the process. Talk to us about the rhythm that y'all have when you're racing. Are there times when y'all are both coaching each other up, or?
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't understand is even though I'm not doing the physical activity of each discipline, the mental fortitude that it takes me to keep not only Brent in the game, but myself in the game, it's a lot.
Yep.
So it takes a lot of energy for me to control my spasms and everything that is associated with my cerebral palsy, and then to focus on the race. It takes a toll on me.
Sure.
And after the race, I feel like I got ran over by 18-wheeler times 5. But
most of the coaching, the majority of it has to come from Kyle, because the physical, what I have to do physically of carrying a human being for 140.6 miles takes a lot out of me, and that wears on you mentally, and so Kyle, as he's saying, it takes a lot. It takes just as much work for him because he has to keep me positive. I mean, we could just sit here and do an entire show on the number of times I've tried to quit races because I get to a point where physically I don't think I can keep going, but he knows, and that's when he comes in. And there's times where the rhythm is he just has to scream and yell. When we were doing, when we've done the Peachtree, that's what happens. He screams and yells at me. When we do something like an Ironman, sometimes it's just a calming voice to just let me know, hey, you're closer than you think. Can you go to that spot for me? That's all I want. And it just becomes this long dialogue of Kyle constantly building me up. There's times where I have to come to you, but
yeah, there are times where I get quiet, especially on the bike, because the bike for me is the most uncomfortable position because our Kona bike, my profile was really low and a lot more laid back just because we wanted to hide me from the wind and the elements that Kona offers so freely. But a lot of time when I get quiet is when I'm thinking positively or I'm saying prayers and, just be creative in ways to engage Brent and focus on what we can do rather than what we can't do.
So is there a way to prepare and train on a mental aspect for these triathlons?
I mean, he's been training his whole life from a mental standpoint, truly. We talk about that Kyle has these mental calluses from just, you might remember when Kyle was in a body cast in the middle of the summer, from having both his hips broken to fix his body. So he has this mental fortitude that's ingrained in him, and that's a skill that is hard, but to practice it, to sharpen those tools, we spend a lot of time together on the bike. So this is not just me out training and putting in a long hours in solitude. It's getting together with Kyle and looking at different. We rode in Hawaii 3 days before the race for 2 hours together, so Kyle could see the way the wind blows on these small little bushes and the lava rocks on the few trees. All these little things, so he can start coming up with his mental cues for me and for himself. So you can practice it, but it's not, some of it you need to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like any good pitcher or any good quarterback or pick your sport, they scout the defense and come up with a game plan. And I'm the same way. Brent had to teach me that in the beginning, but absolutely, whenever we do a race, I want to take a look at the bike course. I want to make sure that I'm at the top so that I can
what to expect.
Yeah, help them out. So that's what I do, and I don't just get on the bike or race day and just go out for a joyride. I really want to be a part of the process, and I really want to be there as a teammate and as a brother.
Let's talk about the origin story of just getting into triathlons, and then, well, let's start there. How did you decide and go from kind of sweatpants and Pringles to
That's exactly what it was.
to triathlons?
I still have lots of sweatpants. Not all of them fit anymore, but I went to Florida State and Tallahassee, and we had a very good time. And I kept that good time rolling. We used to spend our weekends going back to football games and coming home on Sunday in sweatpants and Pringles. And I just wanted to do something more than that. And this seemed like something that I could kind of drive that same energy that we put into the tailgating into training. And as I just got into it and really got hooked on the sport, Kyle started to take notice and see what was going on.
And so the question that I understand is, Kyle, you asked, can someone in a wheelchair do a triathlon?
Yep. Yeah. So Brent did his first Ironman. He invited the whole family. And at that time, I was very immature, and I would get excited to be able to book my own hotel. And, even though our parents were going to be there, it was my vacation. Yeah. And I didn't know what a Ironman was.
Where was the first one?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Louisville.
And I didn't want Brett to get hurt, or I didn't want him to die, because I saw videos of, people really go after it.
But the whole day was this mesmerizing process for him, watching all these people. And there was, physically challenged athletes in the race, and he just saw it all. And, so when and there was somebody that was with Kyle that kind of kept needling him all day. And so when Kyle sat down after dinner, he had a goal in mind, and that was, I want to do this. And so he kind of was trying to feel me out, and I didn't have enough energy to give him real answers. And that was when he finally said, well, can people in wheelchairs do Ironman? Mm-hmm. And I said, yes. I mean, that's what we did growing up at the pool. Kyle swam with everybody. We played sports, like we did everything together. And so there was no hesitation. We didn't know what the next steps were, but at least in that moment, after a huge accomplishment for me, that I wanted to give Kyle that same experience.
So then the next steps is that starting with, with the triathlon, you've got all three different areas. Is it kind of problem solving? All right, well, here's how we would do swimming. Here's how we would do running. Here's how we would do biking first. Or how did y'all first even approach the idea of it?
So we emailed Dick and LaCoit, who are the famous father-son duo that have completed Kona as well, and they were very generous with their time.
Was it just a straight cold email?
Yeah,
it was.
And we had seen an interview with them where they actually said they tried to respond to every inquiry they get, which is which was cool to us and inspiring. And they sent us back a list, and so that made that part easy of like, well, let's order this. We had some people that were very generous in those early years helping us get the equipment. And I mean, we went to REI one day and we sat in the bike shop with all the different boats that REI had. And that was the one thing we didn't follow the Hoyts on. I'm sorry. A friend of ours was like, if you guys try to pull that Boston Whaler in the ocean, you'll never finish. And so we sat at REI and found this inflatable aerodynamic kayak that now there's other people doing what we do in triathlons, and they're all using that boat. So we'd like to think that we started the trend for those. But that was it. We had to figure out all the equipment just so we could sign up for a race. The other stuff we figured could follow behind.
So can relentless determination, which I know is a phrase that y'all use in Beyond the Finish, the book y'all wrote, which I want to get to, but can relentless determination, can that skill be taught, or is it innate?
Both. Yeah. I mean, it's Kyle has it, it's been in him because everything was a struggle. Even, going to a friend's house to hang out in the summer took a ton of energy for Kyle, but it's also something you can consistently work on. That's why we train together. That's why we don't just show up to one race. We do dozens of races to get ready. And you start to kind of get into that process, and you learn how to, what it takes. And so it's a skill that I think can be built, but some people like Kyle are fortunate that they've already got it.
Yeah, I think our parents had a lot to do with it from the beginning, but what I was established, I really held on to that relentless determination, and it has helped me so much with our competitions, with the foundation, and with everything, because life is hard, but life is hard for all of us. So with that determination, it got to help me to conquer all of the challenges a lot easier.
And we're going to take a quick break here and share that this podcast is brought to you by Atlanta Ventures. If you are looking to start the next $300 million business out of Atlanta, check out the studio at atlantaventures.com. Y'all talked about setting the trend for athletes with disabilities in at least the boating aspect. Talk to us about the programs and awareness in Atlanta that have come about, let's just say in the last 10 years. One example I'm thinking of is even just the latest kind of learning and coaching center over at Bobby Jones, right? There's a lot of resources there for athletes with disabilities. What have y'all seen, knowing that the foundation promotes that awareness and does a lot of community building?
I think it's just more present now everywhere. I mean, I think the one example that we've seen best is the Atlanta Track Club.
Yep.
You know, when we first got into this, the Atlanta Track Club did not have fully inclusive opportunities for athletes with disabilities. And now at the Peachtree Road Race, they have a way for every athlete to participate, to be included. And that's all we've ever asked for, because you know, Kyle, I think about it in terms of Kyle. Kyle would do wheelchair soccer, wheelchair baseball, and that's how we said it back then. But he wanted to play baseball like everybody else did. And with triathlon, he gets to do that. And so you see these programs, and what I think they're doing so well is it's not just saying this is adaptive golf. They are saying we're going to play golf together, or we're going to go run the Peachtree. And so I think that would be what I've seen in our community here in Atlanta that we're most proud of, that the parts that we've been affiliated and what other organizations around us are doing as well.
I agree. I think that the Atlanta community has done a very good job of promoting inclusion to all of the people that they interact with, and I think we have a long way to go. Yep. But we are definitely on the right track. And the Kyle Pease Foundation has a lot to do with that. And both Brent and I are very proud of that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, not only are y'all triathletes, you're also published authors. Help us understand the process of training for a triathlon and writing a book. Did you guys
we had some
time box days and
we had help, but you know what? Kyle wrote a children's book in 2014, right? 2014.
Yep. And
he loved writing it. It was a fun process. It was very successful in the way that it supported the foundation. And we said, well, we want to write a big boy book, is what we said to each other. And once we saw how hard it was for him to do the children's book, we said we need to start sooner rather than later. And so the nice thing is we worked on the book for 3 years.
Yep.
And so we started in 2016 with the idea being is that whenever Kona happened, there was only one more chapter to write. So that was what helped us, is that we could kind of slowly, and that allowed the book to evolve. You know, instead of finishing Hawaii and going, oh gosh, we should write a book, we had the book ready to go. Then we just had to sit down and tell a very fresh and special story.
I think the book was harder to do than doing it. But what is so cool and special to us about the book is everyone in my family has a part in the book. So you're not just hearing it from me and Brent's point of view, but you're hearing it from my mom, from my dad, from Evan, from Brent's wife Erica. So everybody has a part in the book, and I guess that's really special because the way we see it might be totally different than our mom sees it. So we're really excited about what the book had done for the foundation and what the book could continue to do to help the foundation down the line.
Absolutely. And the foundation has evolved, right? I mean, we were talking earlier, it was, something that kind of was a two-man show, and now it's
a thing
snowballing into more.
Yeah.
What's the grand vision for the foundation, and knowing that the kind of the ethos is to promote an awareness with athletes with disabilities, raise awareness. What's the big vision?
I mean, right now let's focus on what we're really good at. So the kind of in the immediate, we want to grow it. So we're pre-COVID, we were serving 80 families a year, 80 plus families a year. So we'd really like to double that number. And then once we double it, we felt like that would give us this big group of people that want to truly move beyond the finish. And that was where the book title came from, is because people looked at Kyle and said, this young man has a college degree, has a job, he's got finisher medals, and he's got a life.
I got 3 jobs.
Excuse me. He has 3 jobs. And so I think the grand vision for us is, how do we help people move beyond the finish? How do we create inclusion beyond a finish line?
Right.
And that is something that in probably the next 10 years we'd like to really start seeing grow for the Kyle Pease Foundation.
I think also, Jon, what's cool to me is, yes, we do have a mission and we do have a vision statement. We are a nonprofit, so we do rely on very generous donors to support the foundation. But the thing that gets me is all of the families that we serve are going through something. Yep. And when they come to an event, they can forget about that. And they can be the athlete. And they can smile when they cross the finish line. And for the mom and dad or guardian that is with their loved one all the time, they can take a break. And they can be the soccer mom that they never been before. And I think at the core, that's what made me smile the most.
Yeah.
And that we can offer a different way of doing things. They can forget about whatever they're dealing with for the hour and be a part of the Kyle Pease Foundation family. Because that's what it is. It's a family.
That's really cool. Beyond the finish, right? So there's the arc of post Kona, which y'all shared about, where I've read that I think one of y'all is scared of heights. So do you keep pushing the boundaries on triathlons? What is beyond the finish for y'all outside of the foundation? And it may or may not be something that's physical or not, but I'm sure this isn't the first time you've had this question asked.
Sure. Well, me and Brent, we don't know how to say no. So we say yes to everything. That was a great question. When we completed Kona, everybody like, what's next?
Yeah.
So what's next is we qualified for the Boston Marathon in 2019. So we will be doing that this year in October. And then we will be doing another Ironman in November.
I guess we both feel like the envelope we're pushing is for the greater community, the family, as Kyle talked about. And at the same time, we get to still do things that we're really passionate about. Both of us grew up wanting to be athletes, and now we are. And so, I think a lot of times we see it all the time where people are, how do I push the envelope? I did a 5K, so I do a 10K, or I did a marathon, so I'll do an ultra. And, Kyle and I look at it and say, we've been doing triathlons for 10 years, and we're still physically and mentally capable to do those things. So for us, that still speaks to us. But to be able to push the envelope for these families, to let them see what is truly possible for each of them in whatever way that they want it to be, I feel like that's where we're investing the most energy in terms of pushing things past where they are today.
For sure.
Because y'all are such inspirations for those families and families all across Atlanta, right? I mean, the Pease family is well known in Atlanta for sure. Where do y'all get your inspiration from? Is there any books or because y'all are doing things that are pretty impressive.
Kyle is the biggest inspiration in my life. He makes me a more compassionate person. He gives me relentless determination, and so I get a lot from Kyle. And pre-Kona, we would send each other these images. It was like a moving vision board, and a lot of times it was the Kona finish line. It was like we could just picture ourselves. We'd seen videos of the Hoyts, we'd seen videos of other athletes, and so
the photos of y'all up on the kind of the blocks.
Yeah, they have this ramp. I mean, it's really cool. Yeah, it is. You run up a ramp, and so you are above all the crowd, the fans.
Yeah, I think for me, it definitely Brett. It definitely meditation and prayer. But Brett has literally had his dream. Besides the prickles in the coffees, but I think Brett is one of the most awesome people that I know, and he has really quit everything to make me a better person, to make the foundation a reality, to make me becoming a better man, a better athlete, a better brother. And so, a lot of credit does go to Brett for where we are today.
Watching other people that are excellent at what they do also, gives me inspiration too. Walking into a place like the Atlanta Tech Village and seeing people that are constantly driven and pushing themselves. Just watching people that are good at their craft is inspiring to me, and brings. I'll come back and tell Kyle, like, oh, I met with so and so, and they're doing this, and we should do that. And he's like, okay, well, let's just sign up for another race. That's perfect. But
yeah, you don't have to be the Tom Brady's on the Matt Light of the world, The impact that you have on your community can make a big difference in somebody else's life. So it doesn't have to be Iron Man. You could be good at your talent and then share with the others. And you never know the impact that you're going to have on that individual.
Well said. So, born and raised in Atlanta, you guys are Atlantans through and through. Tell us some of the places you guys love to train. Are there any trails that you both kind of enjoy the most?
Beltline and Piedmont Park are great running tracks that we grew up, and now being able to go into those places and train.
I know, it seems like the Beltline.
It's perfect, and plus it's easy. We go drop a wheelchair, we put Kyle in the chair, and we're ready to go.
I would say for biking, the Bud Plant in Cartersville.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
They don't open it up. You can't have a beer there after, but they do they let you park at the Bud Plant in White, Georgia.
Yeah.
Cartersville. And Kyle and I love biking up there because it's empty. There's this one white picket fence. You probably saw it in one of the videos. And it's always at the end of our ride. Yeah. And it's just so great. There's hardly ever a car there. And you just bike along this long white fence and you turn left and you go along the rest of it. And it's just such a beautiful, there's some great places in this state and just outside of the city. But, right there at Beltline and Piedmont Park is probably the best in-town location for us.
And then for the water, we normally go to Altoona or somewhere where we could do an open water swim.
Nice. So, want to wrap things up here, and this has been great and phenomenal, and lots of really good takeaways. How can people get involved with the foundation, the Kyle Pease Foundation? What are the big, whether it's events or ways to show your support, whether it's through donations or time.
We like saying time, talent, treasure. Yeah. If you can give us your time, volunteer, come out to the events. You don't need to be a runner. Everything to get engaged is at kylepeasefoundation.org. Give us your talents. I grew up professionally in the construction world, and I'm still learning the nonprofit world. And so when people lend their talents and come in and teach us things about running a business or helping us grow our business, it goes such a long way. And then the treasure, share your donations and help make an impact on somebody like Kyle. And that's those three things are such a wonderful part of what helps the Kyle Pease Foundation run.
And I would just say that when you volunteer, I've had several people come up to me and say, "Thank you. You have made me a better father. You have made me a better son." So just join the movement and just get involved. And it could be with the Kyle Pease Foundation or any organization. Just get involved and show your time, talent, and treasure. Because like I said earlier, you never know the impact that you can have on somebody's life.
Yeah. We always wrap up with one question on the Atlanta Story podcast. Why Atlanta, and what has Atlanta done for you?
Well, forever, I love Atlanta. So,
I was waiting for it.
Yeah. I love Atlanta. I love that I can navigate this city on my own with the help of loved ones and more. But I think Atlanta has the opportunity to showcase what is possible. And I think that it shows it every day.
It's a big city with a small town feel. We've always felt like we were part of this community. We grew up in town. We've barely extended beyond town because this has always been our home, and this has been the community that supports us as brothers, as families, and it's just such a special place to be a part of this community, to learn and to grow alongside everybody.
Kyle and Brent Pease, thank you both for being part of the Atlanta Story podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by Atlanta Ventures. It was co-produced by JC Lucas and Jon Birdsong. If you are looking to start the next $300 million business in Atlanta, check out the studio at atlantaventures.com and the companies we work with who've done it before. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it at your next coffee meeting or dinner greeting, rate it, and write a benevolent, eloquent review.